Coming up on episode 146 of Anarcho Agenda, I talk about turning 40 and some of my life lessons, plus the direction of this podcast. This podcast is covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows for use and reuse by anyone except governments and or government agents. Learn more at bipcot.org. I turned 40 on March 20th, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the lessons that I've learned, and then cover my own podcast history and where I want to go with it. This is Anarcho Agenda, episode 146. I'm Riley Blake. When most people turn 40, they reach a milestone in their lives, and they reflect on their lives, and they think, my life is over. I'm getting old. I'm getting to a point in which I look at my life and I'm going to have a crisis of thinking and take off on a new direction because my life is no longer satisfying. I'm at the age where I'm thinking the same thing. I'm here in New Hampshire. I have friends. I'm able to hang out with friends on a regular basis. But yet, I'm not satisfied. And the reason why I'm not satisfied isn't because I have everything I want, which I kind of do. I have a girlfriend, I have friends. It's because I believe there's something more that I could be having in my life. There's something more I should be striving for. And that leads me to the first lesson that I've learned while living in New Hampshire is don't be content with the things that I have now and let that be my life going forward. Be grateful for what I have now, but move into the future with optimism that I can have something better and should strive for something better and not just be adrift. I say this because I came to New Hampshire thinking life was going to be amazing and I would get things that I wanted, more of things that I wanted, like more money, this and that, do some activism, get recognized for doing some activism. But life has a funny way of working itself out in such a way that you have to learn a lesson. So now that I'm in New Hampshire, I don't have to force living in New Hampshire. I can go back to Utah. But really, I should be using this energy to do something entirely different. I would love to get married one day. And so, since I have a girlfriend, and I feel like our relationship is fairly healthy, it could always be better. And that's where I need to do the work, my own inner work, to show up and be a better partner for my girlfriend. I've lost my ambition in a way. I've lost my drive to succeed. I've lost just the drive to do something productive with my life because I just wanted to have fun and be in the moment and just do whatever I wanted, even if it's just listening to random stuff on YouTube all day. And it gets boring after a while. It gets really boring after a while because there's nothing new. Okay, maybe new content gets posted, but there's really nothing new, nothing exciting. So I've allowed myself to become apathetic and lazy. And I really struggle with this because this is the way I was for a while in my life. And then in 2017, things began to change. It was more 2018 when things really began to change because I flew out to New Hampshire by myself. I came to investigate it for myself, and it was awesome. I got to have a trip that I wanted to do, and I planned it out myself. I got some help, and it worked out amazingly. I had some really good friends at the time, and they also helped me achieve goals that I didn't think were possible. I was employed for a period of time, something I really enjoyed. Now that I'm in New Hampshire, I'm looking for employment again. I'm falling back into old patterns, old ways of thinking. And so I reached for old methods of solving problems. And this isn't working. It's not working because the old ways are useless. They are now. And so I have to strive to find a new solution moving forward. I want to open myself to new possibilities of growth. Where will I take this podcast? Where will I gain experience in life? Where will I grow? How will I grow? And so for the next 40 years of my existence, instead of acting like a child, I need to stand up straight with my shoulders back. And I say that because I'm reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And, from what I've listened to and what I've read so far, some of the rules make sense. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Take care of yourself like someone you care about. Make friends with people who have your best interest in mind. Things like that. These make sense. And so, as I'm going through Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, I'm trying to apply each rule to each month of the year. So March, I am evaluating my friendships and working on making friends which have my best interests. And that may involve a friend that's going to be willing to push me a little bit to grow in my own independence and my own ability to thrive and not just play the short game. I want friendships that will teach me how to play the long game in life and not just take life on easy mode. Because that's not what life is supposed to be. Life is suffering. So I must bear it and stand up straight with my shoulders back and be confident, be competent, not just lazy. If you're listening to this and you're also around my age or maybe even older or maybe a little younger, don't spend your life wasting away with drugs. While smoking weed can be fun for me at times, maybe an enjoyable experience at times, maybe a terrifying experience at times, I can't live my life waiting for the next high, waiting for the next time I have cannabis. Instead, I need to be focused on working out, doing push-ups, doing things that help my body build, help my mind build, and encourage myself to grow. It's spring, a time of year when life begins to resurrect, if you will. And so, in this time of rebirth, I intend to make plans and move forward in my life in such a way that I am able to transform and change in such a way that I can be proud of myself. Not just look at my life and be like, I suck, I'm terrible. But really look at myself in the mirror, if you will. I'm blind, but, maybe I'll look in the mirror metaphorically and be like, I'm actually really proud of myself. What would I do? Who would I be? So over the next 5 years, I'm planning out my life. I'm planning out my next existence, what Riley's going to be like in that time. And I think you should too. I think having a long-term plan is always a good idea. But I have not developed a long-term plan. I've always just written down some goals and hope the universe just hands it to me instead of focusing on a goal and working toward it. In this digital age, your information is everywhere on the internet, ready to be used by bad actors. From your social security number to where you live, even your bank details may be out there. It is purely the mere number of others in the same camp that has protected the majority. For nearly 2 decades, ThinkPenguin.com has been developing solutions to protect your privacy. Take back your privacy by going to ThinkPenguin.com and buying Linux-based hardware and software to get back some resemblance of your digital privacy. That's ThinkPenguin.com. When I first started this podcast, I was this angry libertarian yelling into a microphone, rumbling about how people didn't understand liberty and how the world was a messy place, which it is, but I didn't stop to think how that might affect me. I learned this style of podcasting from listening to talk radio and Free Talk Live and other libertarian podcasts. But now as I'm getting older, and now as I'm moving toward a new point in my life, maybe that's not the direction this podcast should go. Maybe anger isn't the solution. Maybe grumbling about how terrible the world is and how everything's a mess and the war with Iran's going to be a disaster and Trump's just ruining America. Statism was on the rise. People love the government more than they love freedom. Which they do. They don't value liberty the way I do. I'm going to focus on my relative freedom. Not absolute freedom, but relative freedom. Relative freedom, stability, and happiness. Even though happiness is not a guarantee, I need to pursue it. And in doing so, this podcast may change. I may explore themes and bring on guests that may challenge my way of thinking. Or it may not, I don't know. But I would love to explore new things. And so, this being the anarcho agenda, it's time to do something entirely different with this show. So, stay tuned. I will always strive to have libertarian principles in mind governing this show. This concludes episode 146 of Anarcho Agenda. I'm Riley Blake. If you like my show, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/crblake86. That's patreon.com/crblake86. Also, check out my sponsor, thinkpenguin.com. Thank you very much for listening. Catch you next episode. Worms.